Hello and welcome to Dr. Shiny Tarot. This is a reading for Scorpio for the month of December. And we're going to go ahead and see what's going on in the lives of you Scorpio friends. Okay, so all right. Let's move this over here a little bit. Okay. All right, so for your current situation, we have the Chariot. Chariot is, a place of intermediate accomplishment. So this is to say that you've gotten through one part of your life, one goal, and now the question is, where are you going to go from there? What direction are you going to take? How are you going to move forward? So in the original artwork, there's like a young commander of an army, and he's headed out away from the city. And he's made a name for himself in the city. He's accomplished and everything there, but now it's time for him to go out and seek new horizons and that kind of thing. In a more practical way, I kind of envision like an adolescent who is saving up all of his money to try to get a car or something like that, and then they finally earn it, and so the question becomes, okay, now that you've got the car, what are you going to do with it? What was the purpose of all of that work and accomplishment, and where is it leading you? So it's in a personal way, sort of asking you, now that you've kind of like gotten over a particular hump, now that you've accomplished some specific goal, it's time for you to sort of turn your gaze outward and figure out what you're going to do next, right? And you might already have some ideas, you might already have some goals, or it may be just a matter of trying to figure something out, or that may be the reason that you're here seeing this reading. So what's crossing you is the Nine of Wands. This is often depicted with a person who's kind of like got some battle scars, who's been kind of beat up a little bit, or has a, is sort of guarded and is standing there like with a look of suspicion on his face. So this is, after getting all the way through almost to the very last step of the wands, the 9 right before the 10s, there's this energy of being a little bit skeptical of giving up any ground or moving forward. And you're tempted to kind of sit still because you have an appreciation for what you've accomplished already. And there's also a little bit of a fear that, trying to take another step just exposes you to more risk and that kind of thing. It's important to remember to keep moving forward anyway. And, yes, use your judgment and rationality and everything, but don't let yourself become so guarded that you stop growing or stop proceeding in life, right? So what you're moving away from is the Two of Wands, and it's kind of cool that you're moving toward the Three of Wands. So pretty clear transition here, that what you're going away from is this sort of planning phase. And with the Chariot as your current situation, it seems like you already have like an idea in your head of something that you kind of want to do, but you may have been just sort of waiting for the right timing. The Chariot definitely has some sort of aspect of timing with it, but this is saying that it's time to act. It's time to get the ball rolling. But where you're headed is the Three of Wands, and that's kind of she's not out there in the waves surfing just yet. She's still kind of on the beach looking out there, but she's on her way. So this is to say that like it may not happen immediately. It may not be something that like happens overnight, but it is important for you to sort of leave the planning behind, leave the working things out in your head, and to actually involve some steps, to take some steps, and probably baby steps. It's not like jumping way ahead. It's just going from the 2 to the 3. So it's time for you to take some initial steps to work toward your final goal or your outlook here. And, look for and this fits in well with this Nine of Wands energy anyway. So you may be a little bit afraid that, you know, this endeavor is gonna fail, or that you'll lose all this momentum, or something like that. That could be kind of making you procrastinate, or put things off. But what you really should be looking for here is not ways for you to really risk everything, but how to take a small, reasonable step that sort of invests in this future, but doesn't necessarily open you up for failure so much. So, I don't know. I mean, you know, I would like to be a musician one day. So, you know, I don't exactly feel comfortable like releasing any final music yet, but I definitely can be practicing and working on music, and making new compositions and things like that, and working at my craft. So it's about like find the way to sort of develop yourself. This isn't a grandiose thing that other people are going to notice. This is something a little bit more close to the chest. And yeah, indeed, we have for your foundation the Queen of Pentacles here in the reverse. And so this is about sort of, you know, the Queen of Pentacles has a financial savvy, but it can also just be anything in the material realm, or like with gardening or growing plants or things like that. She's really good at that kind of thing. She knows how to take care and nurture things in the external. So in the reverse, it's just sort of saying that the situation is here so that you can develop this sort of Queen of Pentacles energy. It's not something that you necessarily are very skilled with, but it's the process that you're in. You're learning this. You're going down this road of the Queen of Pentacles, and you're trying to get from a point of being a novice in this type of energy, and kind of get to be more of an expert. So that personal nurturing is often very subtle and very small gestures. So it's like I got into growing a lot of different plants and some trees, some Japanese maples. And when I first started out, I was really having a tough time because I thought that I could just like the more energy that I put into it, the better it would turn out. But what it really needs is for me to just put, you know, some care and some attention into it, but then to have lots of time to like leave it alone and let it do its own thing. It's the plants grow themselves. They don't need me to grow them, right? What they need me to do is to provide for them a good environment and to maintain the conditions which are conducive to the growth, right? So this is the kind of lesson that you're learning. It's not about like really swinging for the fence and knocking it out of the park. It's more about how do you make small moves to set things up in your favor? How do you consistently, in a disciplined way, move toward your goals? So what's on your mind is the Nine of Pentacles in the reverse, or the Nine of Coins. The Nine of Pentacles tends to have a sort of like a daydreamy, distracted type of mindset. So you're not wanting to do this. You're not wanting to sort of just relax and like sit back and allow things to develop on their own. There's a resistance to that idea. There's more of a need to be hands-on and to be kind of, you know, personally involved in the development of whatever the project is that you're doing. And so that's what's on your mind. That's in your crowning thoughts. And I understand that. I definitely identify with that. But in order to develop this more Queen of Pentacles energy, to sort of get through that initial lesson of the coins, and to get into more of a mastery, you're going to have to be able to embrace this phase. Now, this in and of itself is another challenge when you do reach this, because a lot of times the Nine of Pentacles indicates kind of like a stagnation, or not, you know, when you feel like you've really got enough, it's like you stop putting effort in, and then like what you have kind of slips away slightly. So there's like a very in my opinion, one of the more difficult lessons of the tarot is the jump from the Nine of Pentacles to the 10. But it's and that's really just because of the nature of the struggle, which is to maintain your focus, or to maintain your mindset, right? Which is difficult to do. It's easy to act. It's easy to make some sort of a specific move, but it's harder for you to just sort of like maintain a mindset, or to not get lazy or burned out or that kind of thing. But in the Nine of Pentacles, it's not laziness that you have to overcome, because you do have a degree of success and achievement, but it's that you kind of have given up on moving forward or growing, because you have so much and everything is so plentiful. You just kind of like sit back and daydream, and don't really you don't look for what's next, or you don't keep moving, you know. And so you know, resisting this sort of an energy is the step before it, which is like the Eight of Pentacles, which means that you feel like you need to be like busy. And you know, it could be that your planning and everything has kind of satiated that need to feel busy and all that. But when you actually move forward into specific actions, then you have less mental energy to devote to all this planning. And so it can actually feel like you're doing less, when you actually are accomplishing more just by like kind of crystallizing your plans into action, instead of it just being all kind of out there in the ether. You're actually making something occur, right? So it's a shift in mindset, a shift in perspective, but a very interesting psychological thing is going on for you right here. Very subtle. And, you know, I haven't seen this come up in the cards quite as much as some other common themes, but this is a really cool one. I'm enjoying this. So, what we have for your advice is the King of Cups. So the King of Cups is to say to manage your emotional state, to utilize your emotions effectively with others. I don't know if, you know, there feels like there's a little bit more of a solitary energy here with this project or with this feeling, but the advice is to balance your emotions and to utilize them for your benefit. Don't let them get the better of you. Just sort of learn how to work with them, learn how to trust them, and that can mean, especially the more negative emotions that make it harder for you to deal with people, like anger and things like that. There is a way to harness those things constructively, and that's almost never to just like blow up at people or to, act a particular way. I mean, there are some rare circumstances where that is appropriate, but more than likely you're going to want to even if you're feeling some sort of negative emotions toward a person, you're going to want to control those negative emotions and sort of project something else that's more beneficial to you. And the King of Cups is like, he's good at that. I don't want to say he's manipulative, but because he definitely not as much as some of the other kings are, but he is able to sort of control and keep those emotions under the surface a little bit, but without suppressing them, right? So there's a distinction between controlling your emotions or kind of feeling your emotions but not having to be controlled by them. So that's kind of the distinction. So he's really good at that. He's really good at sort of like maintaining a calm exterior, but without just outright suppressing those emotions and not feeling them at all. So he allows those emotions, he feels them, and he allows them to direct his action in sort of like a grand scheme sort of way, but he doesn't just fly off the handle, right? So somebody may make you angry, and that could be a very good reason for you to take specific and calculated steps, but it is not necessarily a good reason to like blow up in their face, right? So this can be like one good illustration I have of this is one time I didn't do this. I was very, very angry about something at work, And initially, I tried to kind of embrace this King of Cups energy and try to keep it to myself, but I immediately start going to look for another job because I was upset. But I failed. There was a point where trying to hold that emotion, and it was such strong emotion that it sort of boiled over, and I just kind of blew up in my boss's face. And it turned out okay for me in that situation, but really only because I was indispensable in that position. They would be really, they would have been messed up if they had just let me go, and they wouldn't have had any way to deal with that. So in that situation, yes, it worked out okay for me, but the vast majority of the time, it's better for you to just sort of like remember how these things affect you emotionally and to allow that to influence your overall decision making, but do it with a level head. Don't do it in the heat of the moment, right? So, advice for the current situation is or I'm sorry, not the advice. That was what we just did. The environment is the fool in the reverse. So this is sort of like refusing to allow things to be what they are. A need to sort of control things or to know what's going to happen instead of just free falling or trusting. And this is in your environment, so it's not necessarily you that's feeling this way, but it could be that you're conditioned by that environment. This could be like the home life that you came up in, or it could be your friends and the people around you who feel like, no, you need to have a plan. You don't need to just be carefree. You need to, work towards some specific type of goal or whatnot. So I'm not quite clear on how that really works into the rest of this, other than it could be that this is influencing you to move toward a specific path and what might be happening. And the reason that you're being advised to take these small steps is that you are in the process, whatever direction that you are moving toward, it serves you for a particular reason, but it may not be that you're supposed to end up at your actual goal, but you're gaining skills or experiences which are tempering you for some other path that you're not even aware of yet. So that's kind of what I'm getting for how that relates to the rest of this. But it's not necessarily true. It's just for whatever reason, this is what you're seeing in your environment around you. But the Fears card is the Four of Cups in the reverse. So this is, Four of Cups generally in the upright is a little bit more of like a sort of bad attitude. And I don't want to say like as a character flaw, because it can be that like you've been through something that has kind of dulled your senses. You've been through some hard loss or something that's kind of got you feeling down. And so that can lead you to this kind of attitude where you're just not really feeling it. You've got good opportunities around you, but you'd rather just kind of like sit at home or not do anything, disillusioned. And in the reverse, it's like, it's kind of it's a resistance to that, which means it's more of a picking yourself up out of this situation, or let's say consciously directing your emotions. So it could be that this ties into your advice here, where it's like you may be a person who wants to just sort of feel what you feel and to not take direct accountability or responsibility for the way that you feel. And that can be a little bit of a defense mechanism, because like sometimes people will do things that make you feel some sort of way, and you don't want to take responsibility for the way that they made you feel if it was a negative feeling, or you don't want to feel like it's your fault. You want to kind of turn it back on them and say that they're the bad guy. And a lot of times you have a personal role in that. So, sometimes somebody hurts you or something like that, and maybe it's not the first time. Maybe they've done it over and over again, and you kind of want to, put it back on them to say that it's their fault. But in reality, you kind of like, you knew it was coming because it's happened consistently before, and you should have kind of removed yourself from that environment. So, and that is not to say that it's like fault, it solely lies with one person, but It's to say that when things like that happen, there's always your role in the situation and then somebody else's role in the situation, right? So by ignoring your role in the situation, you make it a lot harder to deal with, because there's almost always some option or action that's possible within your realm, and not just expecting other people to shoulder the entire burden, right? So the overall message, or where you headed in the long run, the Seven of Swords. So Seven of Swords typically is like, I feel like I need to get away with something, or that I need to be sneaky, or that I need to not show people what I'm doing. So in the reverse, it's kind of like not wanting to be reserved, or not wanting to play it close to the chest, but to be open, to let people know how you feel, and that kind of thing. So this is probably an indication that like what you're moving toward in the long run here, or the direction that you're trying to head in, is this like keeping it all out in the open and showing people what's going on. And my honest opinion or advice for that is that, and you have power to choose your direction, that nothing is ever set in stone. But my honest opinion is that some of these smaller, finer aspects are going to be better played close to the chest. They're better if you kind of keep them to yourself. So be selective a little bit about what you're showing people, what you're exposing to them. You may have some good ideas here that you don't want somebody to steal or something like that. So it could be that you're trying to navigate the space of getting help and collaboration in that type of a situation without just giving away your idea or having it stolen or something like that. So overall, I think that this is a message of learning to take those small steps to cultivate your path forward, but without opening yourself up to too much to a negative influence, or to somebody who doesn't have your best interest at heart. So that's all about what this cultivation is, because if you're a gardener, there's little insects that are trying to tear up your crop, and all kinds of things that you have to guard from, little nuisances that you have to just kind of keep at bay while still nurturing and moving forward towards your goal. So that's basically what you're dealing with here. It doesn't require big sweeping actions or anything like that, but more minor maintenance stuff, and to just kind of keep your eye on the prize, right? So that about does it for my Scorpio friends for December. If you like the reading, please leave me a comment. Let me know. Like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next month. I also do all kinds of little readings in the meantime, little pick a card readings and full moon readings and things like that. So be sure to check those out, and I'll see you guys next time.